Are you a shower or are you a grower, honey? And more importantly, do you like Jeangu Macrooy's song for Eurovision 2020, Grow? He is the Dutch representative. He was meant to sing this song on home soil, and I think it would have been magic. Should we talk about it? Let's do
Let's do
this.
this.
It's the highs and the lows that make you grow. That is just one of the many lessons to be found in Jeangu Macrooy's song, Grow. This song is very hard to define. Yes, there are elements of soul, there are elements of gospel, but ultimately this occupies a space you can only call Jeangu, honey. This is very unique to him. Stripped back, raw. When he sings, at times it's like he's naked. He's being so honest. The song, if you really break it down, is all about the gap between the life you lead and the life you would like to lead, and kind of learning to accept that. And when you recognize that and the stresses and strains that come with that, you're much better able to cope with that life. Honey, let me tell you about it. In any case, the music video, black and white, monochromatic. He starts in his bathroom. I believe you see a reflection of him in the mirror. Very self-reflective is the point. And it ends with him at a group therapy session. He kind of, in the song, progresses through the dark times. There is lift. There are voices. You know, it's so spiritual. It's like the Mamas and Destiny Chukwunyere are providing backing, because there's just this lift that comes out of nowhere. Or rather, it's been building slowly the whole time. And then when it does come, you're so in awe. And it ends with that group therapy session. These are real people from a real therapy session that he attends. So that warmth was really there. This is organic. This is authentic. This is just wonderful, and I want to know what Jonathan thinks about it up north in Leeds.
I think it's hard for anyone to deny that this song definitely has an element of class. It's very well put together. Jeangu sings it beautifully, and I think this definitely would have been a moment in the contest. And a very credible sort of home soil entry for the Netherlands this year. I'm not sure if it would have become sort of, you know, one of the legendary home entries like Sabina Babayeva for Azerbaijan or something. But I think it's definitely a strong emotional connection that has reached a lot of people. My main concern is that it does leave me hanging at the end. I sort of wait for 3 minutes, and then the last minute it begins to build, and then I'm expecting some sort of big sort of maybe choral finish, and it just finishes. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was sort of expecting it to go a bit further. And there are times where I feel like the 3 minutes cuts it short, and it could do with an extra minute to really grow, as the title suggests. I don't think it's as bad as, say, Armenia 2017 Artsvik, and that grew very much towards the end.
Oh, wait, hold up. I was with you. I was listening. Where does Artsvik come into this?
So the song had a really big build towards the end and then just finished.
Okay. Fly with me high, oh high. Okay.
Okay.
There's more.
Yeah, okay, let me just finish. I don't think it's as bad as Armenia 2017 in terms of the build towards the end. But yeah, it's a solid entry and I enjoy it.
One day I'll find some peace of mind, and then I'll stop being afraid I won't make it through the night. The more I learn, the less I know. Through every high and every low, Porik.
This is a song which I think the performer is an integral ingredient to it, because a lot of songs you could shop them out to any performer, and anyone who has a half-decent voice could make them work. But I think Jeangu is the only person who could successfully carry this track off. And it's just even his voice and his vocals, they're so rich, they're so soulful that you can hear every emotion, you can nearly live through his voice. And even if you're to ignore the lyrics and just listen to the sound and be taken into the atmosphere, you are transported to another dimension and another place. And you kind of get the sense of melancholy, even just from the atmosphere. Then when you listen to the lyrics, they're very relatable to a lot of people, and they speak to mental health, but it's kind of, you don't have to have had very severe depression. Even if you've had just minor stress or whatever, you can still relate to it, which makes it universal in that sense. But yet, despite being universal, it's also very personal, because I've heard of people who've started crying over it, and that it nearly triggers these emotions if they've had particularly tough times. And this is one of the songs that I'm really disappointed that we won't get to see live, because the studio cut was one thing, but he appeared on a chat show, DWDD, or it's
The World Keeps Turning.
He appeared on that, and that was just phenomenal, his performance on that.
God knows I try to hold it all together. I'm getting older. It ain't what I thought.
It was nearly as if he was in a TV studio with a full audience, but it was nearly as if he was just the one person in the room and you were just focusing on him. But yeah, it's just a class act, and it's probably the strongest home entry, I'd say, since Sweden in 2016.
The more I learn, the less I know. Deppin.
I don't know if you guys have ever been to a talent show where, people turn up with 100-foot hair pieces, 6 violins, doing turns and twists and doing all sorts of crazy, way out there stuff. And somebody just comes, holds the microphone and says, "Here is my truth." This is Eurovision 2020, right? So Jeangu Macrooy, basically self-composed, self-written, self-arranged, and self-performed. And this is his truth. This is so impactful. It's sincere. It's touching. His voice is so soothing. And the message here is that expectations don't always marry up with reality. And don't I know it? This song has so touched me. The self-questioning and the progression of it, almost in a fetal position in his bathtub, to kind of finding some form of levitation almost towards the end, with these voices cradling him. This would have broken the host nation crest. And I'm not even talking Sweden 2016. What was that? How impressive was that? We're talking Sabina Babayeva at the very least. I think this would have comfortably locked in the top 5. It deviates from the regular ballad structure of, verse, chorus, this just moves in very surprising ways. And I agree, yes, it does have an abrupt ending, but wow. Yeah, you can't take more than that if you tune in so well. I was this was one of the very few scores where I elevated, because when that live version came out, I'm like, wow, quite often you see live glimpses of studio cuts and you actually re-rank and drop scores. This was one where I had to elevate mine, because even live he's stronger, without props, without fancy backing, without fancy staging, just him. He's so visually arresting. Open Up, again, he's very representative of, Netherlands today, the wider Dutch culture. I absolutely love this. I think this would have done so well. This is poetry unfolding into art, into music, into prayer almost. There's a very strong gospel sound to this. Oh, William, I don't want to say too much, because you still have to talk.
Honey, he is a rebel without being rebellious. And by that I mean he is redefining something without being flashy about it. He doesn't have to be an Andy Warhol. He doesn't want the attention. He wants to make the art, okay? Sure, throw him some coins. I would take him. I'm sure he would too. But he's not sitting there trying to say, gimme, gimme, gimme. Do you know what I mean? This is organic. This is natural. This is real. I was reading the lyrics while you were talking. And it's funny because sometimes when you read lyrics, you can really hear the performer. And so I was literally, it was like he was screaming at me. God knows I try to hold it all to, you know, these little flourishes, these little things he does. And they're so unique to him that you actually hear them and associate the words with him. One day I'll find some peace of mind. You know what I mean? Like there's like this, I don't know, this swirly, sassy, but not in your face, gritty. I just absolutely love this. I think it's so well done, and it's not flashy. This is, you know, he's on Project Runway and he's not using color, he's using all black. But in that all black, he's got texture. He has a fancy collar. He's got a nice hem. He's got a lining. Do you know what I mean? He could work monochrome and it feels like a rainbow. I could go on and on. I'm not going to. In any case, I'll just say this. I love him. I think he slays. I love the personal narrative of the gay man in conservative Suriname coming to the Netherlands to find himself and delivering this song. That is an amen hallelujah. Okay, from Mama 1, Mama 2, Mama 3. Okay, amen, amen, amen. This is not cliche gospel. It's really not. It's infusing a soulful song with gospel. I'm not saying the mamas are cliche, by the way. I'm just saying people often think gospel is one thing, but it's not. It's many things. Long story short, we should go around and give our scores out of 10 along with the justification, starting with Porrig, not Padraig, in Ireland.
It's one of my favorites of the year, 9 out of 10.
Wow.
I gave this a 7. I do really enjoy it. I think it was definitely gunning the left-hand side of the scoreboard. I maybe see it more towards a nuke levels, sort of 10 to 8, rather than gunning for top 5. But definitely a very credible home soil entry.
I think, you know, Eurovision 2020 needed a refresh. I needed better songs. But this is one of the very few that I would truly miss. And I think that this is a missed opportunity. I think Europe deserved to hear this. I think, you know, 190 million viewers deserve to see this and to experience 3 minutes of this. This is fantastic. And William, I really like the point you make about, you know, songs not being cliches of what they are. Because it's sometimes difficult, you know, if you find somebody who's an LGBT performer, you know, it kind of ends up being, you know, Queens at the Disco. And, you know, this is not about that, you know, and this is not, you know, a civil rights song simply because he's black or an immigrant. You know, it just toes the line of finding greater commonality that binds us all together. I've dropped a 9 for this, and I'm actually confident that this would have finished in the top 5 with ease, actually, with ease. This would have appealed to music experts who are looking for voice, composition, who have a structure to how they rank songs. This would have sat comfortably in their top reachings. And to televoters, I think they would have been so moved by this. You know, this is the Salvador Sobral moment where everything stood still and you just watch, you know, you're transfixed by the voice, by how gripping. He's so visually arresting. He's really good looking, and just, you know, the hair and the whole thing. This is a shame, but I'm glad he's back. I'm really pleased he's back. 9 for me out of 10.
Debin, what I love about what I'm hearing from you is the joy, the happiness, the enthusiasm. This is the Debin Adderamy I know and see all the time. And I think if people only see a snippet of you in a video, or maybe 20 videos on the Wiwi jury, they might think that maybe you hated all music. But no, that's not true at all. This song is what you've been waiting for. It kind of is the exact opposite. If you add up all the negativity, this song just shatters all of that in an instant. And to me, that shows the power of the song, that it could really, in many ways, save for you this year musically. Is that fair to say? Am I exaggerating? Or
I think you're right. I'm slightly concerned though, because as a returning artist, I'm so happy to see him. But William, do you think he can sustain the momentum?
Well, speaking of the momentum, I will add to the momentum. I honestly thought that Eurovision might still happen. I thought there was like a 10 or 15% chance it might happen after the pandemic started. I thought, oh, maybe it'll happen without an audience. And this was one of the songs that I thought could actually win. I know it's the home country, and I know that never happens or hasn't happened in a long time. Ireland's looking at me like, I know it hasn't happened in a long time. But I felt like this had that special quality. Yes, it's divisive, definitely, but so was Salvador Sobral. We always give this example. There was something about this that was just so arresting and stirring, and I think music professionals would have loved it. I think, I've been saying it for years, I feel like the winner of Eurovision needs to tap into the zeitgeist. And I feel like there's something about this immigrant narrative. It's so subtle. It's not in your face at all, but it taps into something bigger that I just really loved. And I thought the universe was maybe in a way conspiring for this to win. And then the Netherlands would win this scaled back Eurovision and then have it the next year big and up to size again. Of course, obviously Eurovision's now been canceled. So in any case, my score is a 10. I thought this was perfection. Honestly, the live performance, I rated this after watching the live performance, and I was like, the live performance is better than the studio cut.
Yeah.
And I think
when does that happen?
I think they would have pulled a Sweden 2016 in the sense that they would have had the most technologically advanced stage yet, but then they would have stripped it back France style and just sung in front of some lights. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Props to you. You rightly predicted very openly that would finish in the top 5. Yeah.
Well, 5th place exactly, actually. Yeah. It's a very strange coincidence. In any case.
But do you think he can sustain this momentum?
This is actually a very good question for the entire group. I think it's hard when you lay it down like this, and that's why the next edition of Eurovision is going to be so interesting. Because the favorites who do return have that huge mountain ahead of them, him, Victoria, for instance. I think he can because his music, like Gold, one of his very early singles.
And gold, gold, everywhere I go I see gold. Gold, gold, everywhere I go I see gold.
You can tell it's his song, but it's still very good and very different. I think that he is not a narrow performer, even if we see him, maybe people see him as narrow because they've never heard this type of music before done this way, but he's not narrow. He does this magic in many different ways. He's like an accordion, you know? It looks all white when the box is together, but pull it out, you got some notes, okay?
I think he can live up to the hype if he doesn't write specifically for Eurovision. I want him to forget that he's already confirmed for next year and just go back to himself, where his music comes from, what is his story, what's his truth, as Devin said. Yes. And write from that, not saying, oh, I have this popular song in 2020, let's try and replicate it in 2021. Sort of, yeah, don't write specifically for Eurovision.
You know what Jonathan just gave us? He gave us the secret combination. It's a mystery for you. You have to write a song, not write a song for Eurovision. And that's why he was chosen. He submitted this song, or they discovered this song, and then he got to go to Eurovision. I think that, honestly, that's the lesson of the decade. Okay, that's what people need to remember.
What does Corey think?
I think that he'll bring it again next year. That his back catalogue, if you listen to what he's done, that he is a very strong artist, and he's not one of those people that he's a one-hit wonder. I don't think. While he hasn't had huge commercial success, he has quality throughout his career, and this is an opportunity. He's got like close to 18 months or whatever to work on something, so I'm very excited to see what he brings.
In any case, we are not the only Wiwi bloggers. There are dozens of them all over the world, and they have also submitted scores out of a 10. And when we calculate the overall global average, we get, drumroll sound effect. Oh, we get a 7.03.
Jonathan Vautry.
Bang on the money.
Bang on the money, yeah. You know, again, divisive songs. When the interesting thing about the Wiwi jury system is we rate out of a 10 and take an average. Later this year, we'll be doing a 12-point system, and it'll be curious to see how things stack up then. But yeah, I think that when you have people doing numeric averages, obviously things tend to gravitate towards the center.
But even that score would have still given pushing to a top 12 finish.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good score. Anything, we always say a 7's quite good. In any case, that's what we think. What do you think? Do you think that Grow lives up to its title like we do? Let us know here on Wiwi Blogs. Oh, and by the way, if you're listening to us on Spotify, you can head over to YouTube and see Porig's haircut. He has shaved that head following the pandemic trends. Barbers ain't open, but ingenuity and creativity always are.
And while you're there, if you want to see even more videos with me and the rest of the people in it, subscribe to YouTube and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss anything.
Give this video a like and head down to the comments below to let us know what you think about Grow.
And we are on Twitter, by the way, and so is Porik, really active, in fact. So make sure you follow us on Twitter, and we
will see you later. Bye.
Bye.
He's spicy on Twitter too.